Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check the link to my Patreon page in the upper right-hand corner. I'm back with round 4 of a Modern Friendly League. I'm currently sitting at 2-1. I just lost to Elves, so one of our worst matchups. I did pretty well. I won game 2, but couldn't get there in game 3. So let's go ahead and see how round 4 went. I won the die roll, and this is a very keepable hand. Turn 1 Cursecatcher, turn 2 Spreading Seas. A pretty good opening. So the opponent mulliganed and put a card on top of his library. Right, so as I mentioned, turn 1 Cursecatcher. Turn 1 Basic Mountain into Legion Loyalist. So you see this a lot in the modern queues and the modern friendly leagues. It's Goblins. He can attack with the Loyalist if he wants to. It has haste. And I had to think about whether I wanted to block or not. Of course, I can just bounce the guy with Harbinger, which is good value. But if I trade with the Cursecatcher, I can then Spreading Seas his mountain, and if he kept a hand on his mulligan with not a lot of lands, maybe Spreading Seas is the correct turn 2 play. Of course, I can just take the damage and go for Spreading Seas anyway, but yeah, in the end, I decided that we don't need to block yet. Legion Loyalist is a card that you really need to be careful with in this matchup, because once I get a couple of other Goblins on board, you really can't block because they have First Strike. So trading with Cursecatcher would have been totally reasonable just for that reason alone, that you really don't want to let Legion Loyalist get up to his battalion trigger. Now, I happen to draw a Master of Waves on turn 2, which is really, really good, and just makes not blocking with Cursecatcher better because potentially contributing more devotion. Drawing Master of Waves makes me that much more inclined to play out Harbinger this turn, to just get even more devotion onto the board. Play the Cavern, name Merfolk, bounce this Loyalist, and get in for 1. I find actually that we have a pretty decent matchup against this Goblin deck. Okay, 2 Lightning Bolts. I mean, there are a couple of variations of the Goblin deck that run more or less numbers of the Bushwhackers, I guess, but actually, I'm not sure. Maybe pretty much everybody is on 8-Whack at this point, just because those Bushwhacker effects are so strong. I drew another Spreading Seas. It was the only spell that I was going to be able to cast this turn anyway, and seeing the second one sort of lines up a pretty cool path. The opponent, let's see. We're going to see next turn what they do if they hit the land drops. Okay, Pile Driver. That's usually a great card against us, but they didn't play a land yet, and it looks like they're not going to. I'm saying this is usually a great card against us, but Goblin Pile Driver is only good if they have a bunch of other Goblins to make it big. It's also only really great if we can't block it, but we can block it since I have a Mutavault out here. Mutavault is not blue, so he can block Goblin Pile Driver. Now, I am not afraid of this Pile Driver right now, and the opponent not hitting a land drop makes the Spreading Seas plan just incredible. Drew a Cursecatcher, which is nice because it's something that I can actually play and pass to the opponent. They choose not to get in. They do have a land for the turn, and they just play out a Legion Loyalist. I drew an Island Walk Lord, but I think it's time to just jam Master of Waves here. Got 4 devotion, 4 tokens, and yeah, don't need to attack right now. The opponent can get in with this Goblin Pile Driver right now. Okay, so Reckless Bushwhacker. Played it for 3. It has haste, but the surge cost was not paid, so the other guys are not going to get buffed. So I guess presumably he's attacking with all the guys to make Pile Driver big and to get the battalion trigger, but it just seems reckless because I have pro red and I can just eat his Loyalist. I'll take some damage, but this is not going well for the Goblins player. So it took 7, still sitting at 12 life. And if we just look at the board right now, I've got 8, 10, 11, plus 3 is 14. If I play the Master of the Pearl Trident, it's going to add 3 power to the board. Not quite lethal, but the opponent's only got these 2 creatures here. I drew another Island Walklord, so I'm going to play one of these guys out. I think I'm going to leave Mutavault back to block the pile driver because I absolutely am not... I don't have to attack with the Mutavault. Let's see. 2, 5, plus 8 is 13, plus 4 is 17. Yeah, it's a 2-turn clock anyway, so leaving Mutavault back just makes sense, but the opponent just scooped. So, the opponent had mulliganed. We sort of crushed him with tempo. With Spreading Seas, they couldn't do anything on one of their turns. Actually, I think it was their turn 3. And we just got to keep developing, and Master of Waves took things over. So look away for a second if you don't want to see the match result. All right, back for game 2. The opponent's going to be on the play. This is a nice opening hand. We get that Spreading Seas action again if we want to. Okay, here's a Goblin Guide. We're hoping for land. And we get another Mutavault. I would have preferred an island at this point. Cursecatcher's okay. I mean, it means we don't have to discard this turn at least. So land, Cursecatcher, go. Mog Fanatic, Legion Loyalist. He's going to clear the way, sacking the Fanatic to get rid of the Cursecatcher. I guess that's fine. Gets to swing for 3. What do we see on top of the library this time? Spell Pierce is awkward, and it reminds me that I should check out what the sideboard plan is here. So I took out the 2 Kiras, just because they don't have a lot of removal. It's pretty much all creatures. They have Lightning Bolts, they have Goblin Grenades, but they're not usually going after our creatures with Goblin Grenades. I took out the 2 Kiras, took out 2 Reejereys, and it looks like that was it. I brought in 2 Echoing Truth and 2 Dismember. Now, yes, Goblins does hit our life total pretty hard, so Dismember can potentially be a liability, but it can kill like really important creatures. It can kill Goblin Pile Driver because it's not blue. It can kill like a Goblin Chieftain. If Legion Loyalist is getting out of hand, we can kill that guy. So not a lot of sideboard stuff, just 4 cards that interact with creatures. Okay, so I drew that Spell Pierce. What did I take out again? 2 Reejereys and 2 Kiras. Now, I do like the Spell Pierces, I guess, because Goblin Grenade can be such a blowout. And they typically don't run a lot of land, so Spell Pierce is usually live. But thinking for next time, would I be better served taking out my 2 Spell Pierces and leaving in 2 Reejereys? Not really sure. I think I like leaving in the 2 Spell Pierces. We have enough creatures, and having a little bit of counter magic seems pretty good. Now, I had a choice here whether to play a Silvergill or play a Spreading Seas. If I play the Spreading Seas and they don't have lands, I could potentially take over the game. But they could, even if I play 1 Spreading Seas, they could still play a Goblin Pile Driver. And I'm in a tough spot here. And when you're in a tough spot, it's usually correct to just get bodies on the battlefield. So I'm going to play Silvergill here. Master of Waves is nice, but I need lands. And Goblin Bushwhacker is rough. Again, Legion Loyalist. Even though he doesn't look very threatening, he gives everybody trample and first strike, which just makes blocks absolutely miserable, especially with Silvergill, who only has 1 toughness. Like, I'm not going to trade a creature to prevent 1 point of damage. So I'm just going to take a really strong 7 damage here. I got a land to get to Master of Waves mana, but I don't know if I'm actually going to even get there. I drew an AEther Vial. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the opponent did not have a land drop, and if I had played Spreading Seas, they would not have been able to play and kick this Bushwhacker. So sometimes it's really hard to make a decision between, which turn to play you make. Anyhow, looks like the play here is just Island Walklord, AEther Vial, I don't even know. Spreading Seas, what am I doing here? I don't really know if I have outs at this point. Another Spreading Seas, so I'm going to have to discard, I think, this turn. If I leave up Spell Pierce, I'd have to discard. You know, I might have actually wanted to get in with Silvergill Adept there, since on board I know that I'm not going to block because of the first strike. The creatures are smaller than they were in the previous turn because Bushwhacker only buffs the guys the turn that he comes in. So I discarded one of those Spreading Seas. Goblin Piledriver is totally going to seal this up. I do have a Mutavault, but that means Goblin Piledriver means I can't tap out for Master of Waves, because I have to leave a Mutavault up to block Goblin Piledriver. No blocks. And play the Mutavault. Drew another Master of Waves. If this was anything other than Goblin Piledriver, I might be okay. I left up the Spell Pierce in case he went for the Goblin Grenade, and it would have been really great for us if he did, instead of playing the Piledriver. Instead, I got to play a Lord and leave a Mutavault up to try to block this Goblin Piledriver. Instead, the opponent has more and more gas, so there's just nothing I can do at this point. This guy's going to get huge and have trample because of the Legion Loyalist. So things really going the Goblin player's way here, and I just scooped it up when the triggers went on the stack. All right, game 2 to the Goblins player, and look away if you don't want to see the match result. I'm back with game 3. This is a keep. Opponent mulliganed, which means that Spreading Seas is going to be a good line again. But he put a card on top. All right, so we're going to open, of course, Island Cursecatcher and see what the opponent's bringing this game. Mog Fanatic. Gonna kill my little dude right now, or what? Yeah, that's what he wants to do. That's fine. Okay, Cavern and Spreading Seas. The reason I didn't run out Mutavault that turn was because it doesn't really matter, but I'm almost definitely going to play Reejerey on turn 3. So I did draw a second Spreading Seas, which I think might even be better than Reejerey. So here is a Mog War Marshal. Yeah, so I'm going to play Spreading Seas. They won't be able to play the Echo cost. They won't be able to pay the War Marshal's Echo cost, so they're just going to get another token. Harbinger's great because I can bounce the token and just kill it. All right, so can't pay that. Gets a token, and yeah, he has no more mana, it looks like. Spreading Seas doing a great job. We're drawing lands, but it's sort of okay. I'm going to play Reejerey here because he lets us play out the rest of our hand next turn. All right, so play out a Reejerey. I'm going to tap one of his goblins, with the idea being I'll play out another Harbinger, tap the other goblin, and it doesn't really matter what I untap. Untap a Mutavault. That doesn't really work because I can't attack since I don't have the mana. Yeah, at that point, I think the opponent decided to scoop because he doesn't have lands, and I've got a bunch of lords. So it seems reasonable to give up in that spot. All right, as I mentioned, I think that Merfolk has a slight edge against these 8-whack decks, Goblin decks, because their creatures tend to be pretty small, even if they have a lot of them. And even if we get like a couple of lords out, 3/3s, if we get up to 4/4s, we can pretty much block whatever they're bringing, and their board just shrinks if they just lose a bunch of their little guys. Harbinger is great in the matchup because he bounces all of these tokens. And Master of Waves is obviously a huge trump card. So this was round 4. I'm currently 3-1. Please let me know your thoughts and questions in the comment section. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please check out my Patreon page, and tune in for the next video where I'll be back with the 5th and final round of this Modern Friendly League. Thanks, guys. Bye.